And then, probably the best matchup of the weekend was Alabama against Oklahoma, which actually happened took place on Friday. Bama won that one 34-24 after being down 17-0. I know Oklahoma fans. Obviously, they were salty when Lincoln Riley uh, left them for USC, and I think the reason they felt salty is because Oklahoma considers themselves, as they should, a real, you know, such a great historic program in college football. Uh, and they look at themselves like, well, what do you mean? They look at themselves as one of those programs that you don't leave us for we're a dream job, right? We're as good a job as you can have. So if you have our job, you're not even thinking about going anywhere else. And I think it's just like a blow to their pride and a blow to their ego that Lincoln Riley would leave them for another college program, right? Just like Brian Kelly um, leaving uh, Notre Dame to go to LSU. Notre Dame was like, we're Notre Dame, right? USC is lucky that anytime anybody ever left them, any head coach that ever left USC to go to another program voluntarily, they go to another program, they went to the NFL, right? You don't leave USC to another, they go to another program because USC is as good a job as you can get. If you're at USC, you're happy, right? And you're just trying to make sure that you can keep the job, not thinking about going somewhere else. So I'm glad that I've never had to deal as a USC fan with the indignity of a coach deciding, you know what, I think I'll leave and go to another program that'll be better. you know, that would really suck. But Oklahoma, obviously, they didn't appreciate Lincoln Riley leaving, and they're celebrating that they made the playoff before Lincoln Riley made the playoff at USC. Uh, and Brent Venables, who's a defensive coach, he's done a pretty good job. But the thing about it, man, is that ever since I've been watching college football, which goes back to Bob Stoops. Um, Oklahoma was known as a Oklahoma was a they're an offensive team. You know, um, they have quarterbacks, they have running backs, they have wide receivers, and they put up big numbers. You know, um, and that was from Bob Stoops through Lincoln Riley. You think of the games, all the Lincoln Riley games with Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts and Baker Mayfield. You think of shootouts. You know, so Oklahoma, it's like, yeah, Bama did their thing. They got their 34. But Oklahoma, back in the good old days of Oklahoma football, they're getting to, they're not losing 34 to 24. They might lose 54 to 48, but not 34 to 24. Um, yeah, I just think that it sucks, bro. And like I said, there's no program in college football. I think 2019 was the last great year of college football, because that was the year where you had obviously that team, that 2019 LSU team was the last team I think that we'll see that was like, wow, I can't believe that team had all those guys. I can't believe that team was that good. I can't believe that team went undefeated against that schedule. You know, I don't think we'll see a team like that again with the way things have changed in college football. I talked about the transfer portal and the NIL. It makes it impossible to stack the roster in the type of way that you could in the glory years of college football, as well as you know, um, yeah. That's pretty much it. As far as roster building, you know, and then of course the super conferences, um, I don't know. Do I think that LSU team could have gone 15-0 still against uh, this this new SEC with Texas and Oklahoma? Yeah, I do. But I don't think that you could build a team as good as that LSU team in this era that could do that. You know, so and it's the same thing like Alabama. You know, So 2019, you had uh, Burrow at LSU, you had Tua at Alabama. I don't remember who Ohio State had. Oklahoma had Jalen Hurts. So you still had you had superstars. Guys who've gone on to do great things um, in the NFL. Uh, and it's just it's just did Ohio State was that Justin Fields? It was, wasn't it? I think it was Justin Fields, wasn't it? At Ohio State in 2019. I could be wrong, but yeah, man. So you had big time players putting up big time numbers, you know, um, and it was just that was the last year where it was like that. Everything if you that was like it's like the levee broke when the NIL started, and that was even before the transfer portals. Just people started just transferring all willy nilly. It was just a different. It was uh, like it's like the link has been broken now um, in college football. You know, and it's just a different it's a different time, and I think the sport is much worse for it. Because I like to see Alabama. I like to see Oklahoma. I don't like to have a different type of head coach, but they need a different coach. They're not playing Oklahoma football. And I don't care what Oklahoma fans say. I know they don't like watching this brand of football. Even if they win some games, they win, I don't know, 10-2 or whatever it was, and they lost the first playoff game. The Lincoln Riley era was way more fun. The Bob Stoops era was way more fun. You know, so like I said, I'm just a fan of the sport. You know, I'm not an Oklahoma fan, but I remember what Oklahoma was like when they were great. Even if like I said, they won three under Barry Switzer. They only won one under Bob Stoops with all that winning that they did. Of course, they never won a playoff game under Lincoln Riley. But man, they won a lot, and they were not just they won a lot. They were fun to watch. You know, uh, like I said, I think all the programs, like Alabama, like I said, this Alabama team is not as talented as the teams of Nick Saban. You know, this Ohio State team even I don't think is as talented as the teams of Urban Meyer and the first Ryan Day teams, earlier Ryan Day teams. The Jim Tressel teams. This Texas team is not as good or as fun as the teams they had under Mac Brown. You know, so yeah, I definitely think it's a it's I don't know. There's nothing you can do. I don't think. I don't know what they're gonna do. They have to do something though, because nobody wants to watch James Madison get smacked by Oregon or Tulane get smacked by Ole Miss. It's just a waste of time. You know, we have to see what the solution. They're not going to make the playoff field smaller. It's all about money in the first place. That's what sucks, bro. Everything is about money. That's why these super conferences exist. That's why the playoff exists. You know, and I don't know. I just miss the old days.